Tonight on Golf Central, it may be February, but the azaleas, they're in full bloom. And for the biggest stars in the game, the Masters is already on their minds. How are these guys gearing up for the first major of the year?
A deep bunker left, water right, and just a sliver of green in between. We're giving you a closer look at the Bear Trap's final bite.
Plus, the Bear Trap is treacherous, but is it the best three-hole stretch on tour?
It's a good question.
You put me on the spot here.
We bring a new meaning to the rule of three right now on Golf Central.
Golf Central. Brought to you by Titleist.
It was just a year ago, Adam Scott started off the Florida swing by overcoming a quadruple bogey on Saturday to win the Honda Classic by one over Sergio Garcia, holding him off thanks to a final round 70 to win the event. The first of two straight wins, the Aussie would go and reel off, all part of a 2016 in which the past Masters champ had more wins worldwide, 2, than missed cuts, 1. Hello and welcome into Golf Central. I'm George Savarickas with Golf Channel analyst Tripp Eisenhower. Adam Scott getting ready to return to a familiar place.
Well, yeah, and you look at Adam Scott this year, the world's a little upside down for him. Normally atop the heap in the ball striking stats and middle of the pack with the putting. Well, it's upside down. The ball striking is middle of the pack, and he's the best putter as far as strokes gained go on the PGA Tour, but he's never far away from a quick fix and getting that ball striking right back where he wants it.
And now Scott's getting ready to defend one of his 2 victories he had a season ago.
It was good to be back into it last week. It's one of my favorite venues, and it's a comfortable place for me to start. Good and bad to be expected the first week back out after a bit of a break, and I think hopefully I've ironed out the bad the last couple of days here. And then coming into the Honda Classic, lots of good memories from last year. Some of my best golf I've ever played here, tee to green certainly, but just generally anyway, was here last year. So as soon as I've stepped on a few tees, I've seen a few better shots than I'd been watching last week, and just got that good feeling coming back. So I'm quite happy with where things sit going into this week. A big thing last week for me was my short game was pretty sharp, and I putted very well, so it's a nice way to start the year and try and keep that going for a little longer.
From the 7th to the 8th ranked player in the world with Justin Thomas, JT leads the PGA Tour. 3 wins this season, but Tripp, since he left the Aloha State, has looked a little different.
Yeah, but his resume looks exactly like it did last year when he came in here with a 3rd place finish, a missed cut, and a decent or middle of the pack finish in LA.
Here's Thomas earlier today.
It's nice to be at home for a week, and I'd like to get a win on the homeland. So not only for me, so everyone can stop making fun of me that I can't win on the homeland. But now maybe I could have a little bit more swag, you know, when I'm walking out there. You know, you look at people like DJ and Rory. I think it's so cool watching them go walk around the golf course, because they just look so unbeatable, and they have such, you know, great strides and such confidence just when they walk. And you know, that's something that sounds so dumb when you say it, but it's when you're playing against somebody and they're slumping their shoulders and, you know, they just look exhausted. You're like, you know, I can beat this guy. And that's kind of, I'm trying to work to get to that, trying to become, you know, even a little bit more even keel and less emotional. But at the same time, I mean, that's the kind of person I am, so I can't change that. But I'm definitely confident when I, not only this week, but, you know, most weeks when I step out in the course, it's just kind of a matter of how the shape my game's in, and just trying to get it around.
Well, it's going to be a tough test for JT this week. The champion course of PGA National definitely has some bite to it beyond the Bear Trap. Here's where it's ranked among non-major courses on the PGA Tour the last 4 years. Aside from 2014, it's been the most difficult non-major layout on tour. So you got to bring your A game, most difficult or second most difficult. So 43 days. What does that mean to you at home? It certainly means something to the guys on the PGA Tour. For more, let's welcome in Steve Burkowski, who joins us from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
George, with the start of the spring swing here this week at the Honda Classic, there is a sense that the countdown to the Masters has already begun. 6 weeks from tomorrow, the year's first major will get underway at Augusta National, and for several of the 88 players who have already earned an invitation, there are many different ways to get ready for their trip down Magnolia Lane.
To be honest, you know, what you're facing week in, week out here is so difficult anyway that if you're playing good golf on the PGA Tour, you're pretty much prepared for Augusta National. I think, you know, knowing the golf course so well, there's just a few shots you just need to work on. But ultimately, I would say, if anything, not overplaying and saving the energy, because you know, any of the majors are pretty exhausting tasks, and Augusta's no exception.
I think the game is one thing, but it's more mentally that you feel that you have confidence in your own game. I think the Masters is a lot about, obviously, ball striking. You need to strike it well, but you need to be brave and you need to be confident in your abilities, and that is more something that I try to build up over the next 2 months.
As long as your short game is good, if you're not hitting it that great, you can just miss in the right spots and the easy up and down. So that's just going to be the big focus come this next month or so.
I'm going to try and play a lot. I think for me that's what's been the key last year, is playing leading up to the Masters, and so I'm going to play, you know, 6 of the next 8 and see how it goes.
Kind of prepared for some shots you're going to hit out there, really trying to tighten up a draw. And focusing a lot on distance control, especially with short clubs, because that's everything out there.
You're trying to find a little bit of rhythm early on the season so you can build off something. You know, hopefully get a couple good finishes, get yourself in contention, get the juices flowing early on, so you can, when you get to Augusta, you're ready for anything.
There's obviously a lot of focus to that. You know, you're getting used to hitting the shots. You know, trying to hit the ball a little higher, working on distance control. Looking forward to that. Obviously, we'll sneak up there early, get a little bit more preparation, but that's definitely starting to get more in your mind right now.
The door is not currently closed for players who are not already in the Masters. A win on the PGA Tour in the next 6 weeks, or a world ranking inside the top 50 following the WGC Dell match play, will also earn someone an invitation to Augusta.
Alrighty, thank you, Burko. So, Trip, not that I'm a gambling man, wink, wink, but we saw on Monday the odds from golfodds.com for some of the big names at the Masters. Let's get to your top 5 favorites at Augusta.
Well, mine's not going to be too far off some of those top guys, because it makes sense. The odds makers know what they're doing, and they do it for a living for a reason. But number 5 for me is Justin Rose. I think Justin Rose has just a great resume at Augusta. You can see a 2nd and a 10th the last 2 years. He's making a ton of birdies there. That's the key. Clean up a few of the mistakes. Of course, a couple of years ago, nobody was going to catch Jordan Spieth, but I definitely think Justin Rose is coming off a season where 3 of his 4 finished starts in 2017 have been in the top 5. So Justin Rose, red hot. Look for him to continue to build and get that game ready for Augusta National.
Okay, so that's your number 5. Is maybe one of his teammates who was at the Ryder Cup, number 4?
Well, no, he'll be down there a little bit later. But I'm going with Hideki Matsuyama for a couple of reasons at number 4. Hideki won WGC by 7 shots. The only other player in history to win a WGC by 7 or more shots is a guy by the name of, Tiger Woods. But you look at all the winning that he did at the end of 2016. It carried over the great performance that he had, not only at the beginning of the season, but at the Tournament of Champions, but also how he played at Waste Management. He's had a top 10 in all 4 major championships. The first Japanese player to do that since Tommy Nakajima. It's just a matter of catching it on the right week. You know the ball striking's going to be there. It's just if the putter shows up. If that happens, Hideki Matsuyama could easily win the Masters.
He's been playing at such a high level. Minus that 80 in the second round at the Genesis. It seems like, why wouldn't he be in the mix on Sunday? All right, let's get to your number 3.
Well, and my number 3 is a guy who was my number 1 pick at the start of 2017, and I'm only putting him at number 3 for a couple of reasons, which will make sense in a minute. But I'm going with Rory McIlroy, who we're not going to see till next week. He's scheduled to play in Mexico. But look, he's 1 leg away from a career Grand Slam, and he's actually 1 round away from a green jacket. You can see these scores keeping him out of the winner's circle. Last year, he had that 77 on Saturday, still had a 10th place finish. And really, it was the driver, which is unusual for Rory McIlroy. It was the driver that it was his undoing in 2016. Rory McIlroy will win the career Grand Slam. He could get it done this year. You should never pick against Rory McIlroy at Augusta National.
Next week at the WGC Mexico event, that'll go a long way in seeing where Rory's game is at. He said he's scheduled to make his return then. All right,
Yep.
Number 2.
Number 2, well, I said it would make sense why I bumped Rory to number 3 because he hadn't played, and one guy that has been playing and playing fantastic. I'm speaking about Dustin Johnson. DJ, this is the reason why I liked him. I talked about it on Monday. He is scrambling. His scrambling proximity to the hole is 5th on the PGA Tour. This is a guy who was 165th a couple of seasons ago. When he misses greens, he's getting it up and down, and he's putting so much better. Those greens at Riviera are the toughest to putt inside of 10 feet. He was way better than the field average from that distance. When DJ's on, he makes the game look so easy. He can shorten Augusta National. He can two-putt a lot of those par 5s. Look out for DJ in that sharp, short game. That's been the one thing keeping him out of really having a chance at Augusta National. So DJ's my number 2 guy.
And he's had back-to-back top 10s there. T4 last year. 2 years ago, he had 3 eagles in a round at Augusta. So not just a short game, but he's got a little firepower around him.
He does.
All right. Let's go out on a limb. Who could be number 1?
Well, it's going to be a former world number 1, and I'm speaking about Jordan Spieth. The issue with his game, you look right here. I mean, tie for second, win, tie for second. That's 3 pretty good starts at the Masters. You can't do much better than that. Jordan Spieth and Augusta get along so well. Why? Because, look, he's one of the best putters on the planet. He manages his game so well. His short game is so fantastic. The maturity beyond his years. The ability now, you listen to Jordan Spieth, and every year you start to listen to him, he's getting, so much, even more mature than we already thought he was. He says after the win, it felt good. I used to strut around a little bit more, but now I realize it doesn't matter. I got to put that stuff behind me and focus on winning the golf tournament the very next week. And Jordan Spieth is that guy. He's focused on getting ready for the Masters. He will be ready when he turns down Magnolia Lane. And the good news for him, that iron game that was a little loose last year is really tight. He's hitting the irons just like he was in 2015.
And it'll be must-see TV what he does on Sunday, assuming he's there on number 12.
He'll do just fine.
All right, so here's a look at what we've seen out of the last 5 champions at the Masters. You see Jordan Spieth just 2 years ago tied the tournament scoring record with Tiger Woods at 18 under par as he captured his first major and slipped on the green jacket for the first time. Much more to come. We're 2/3 of the way through the bear trap. Now you'll see what the pros are tackling with the diabolical par 3 17th. And we want to hear from you, the viewer. Which 3-hole stretch has the best nickname? Is it the bear trap, the snake pit, the green mile, or could it be Colonial's horrible horseshoe? Win on Twitter at Golf Channel. Results coming at the bottom of the hour.
Golf Central is brought to you by the new Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X. Choose the best for your game. Golf Now, millions of tee times, free GPS, and more. Download today.